roles of the Lieutenant Governor is to be involved in Veterans Affairs, as so you noted. The Veterans Commission has proposed a sales tax increase to help fund their programs. What I'm wondering is, are you supportive of that tax increase, and why or why not? Teddy Fleck, this first question starts with you.
Being a veteran, I understand some of the problems that our vets go through, but also on the other hand, being a libertarian, we are against any tax increases. What I would like to do is to make sure that there are no overlapping programs that the federal government is already handling. We don't need any more state programs to compound the issue.
Okay, thank you.
I have not stepped out to support the 1/8 cent sales tax increase. Representative Page has championed it. I am mindful that the sales tax is regressive on low-income people. I'm mindful also that many communities, including mine, Cape Girardeau, passed a sales tax increase this past year to fund much-needed park improvements. A lot of us were surprised that it passed, but that took our sales tax up to something like 7.9 cents and some change. And we've got to ask ourselves as a state whether we want to take it over 8% in an awful lot of communities in this town, and the effect that might have on car sales. I am committed to finding this money in the general revenue budget, and I'm prepared to do that. And I do not support higher taxes, as does my Democratic opponent.
Thank you, Sam Page.
Thank you. I co-sponsored the legislation that would allow the voters of Missouri to vote on whether they would not want to increase the sales tax by 1/8% and take care of the veterans in our veterans' homes in Missouri. We have 1,000 veterans on the waiting list and waiting to get in for services. Sometimes they wait a year or a year and a half. You know, it is our obligation to take care of those who have fought our foreign wars and are coming back to Missouri. It's our obligation to make sure that they can, that their health needs are taken care of and that they can transition into a good job with good benefits. I have a track record of opposing many, many sales taxes, many, many new taxes in this legislature. But this is one tax issue because veterans are so important that people in Missouri deserve to have the opportunity to vote on. It passed the House by an overwhelming margin, and unfortunately, it was not even heard in the Senate.
Thank you. Is there a question from the audience? Tony.
This is a question regarding the... Go to the microphone. Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. This is a question regarding the Sunshine Law discussion that the Lieutenant Governor brought up in his opening statement. It's going to take a bit of explanation, but as I understand the situation that he brought up, there was a Sunshine Law request made to Representative Page's office. Representative Page responded to that Sunshine Law request the way House of Representatives are supposed to and sent the request to the clerk of the House. The clerk of the House has interpreted Sunshine Law in Missouri over the past several months, at least, perhaps longer, that individual records of House members are not sunshineable records. And so the clerk of the House then responded to the Sunshine Law request and said, you're not getting your documents. My question is twofold. One, do you support this position? Do you believe that under the Sunshine Law, individual House members or senators should not have their records available under the Sunshine Law? And secondly, do you believe that the information, that an individual House member, regardless of what the clerk's position is, should release that information on their own?
This question goes first to Peter Kim.
I think the position taken by the clerk of the House is ludicrous on its face. Apparently he's doing that on orders from House leadership. Everybody in this audience who believes that the Sunshine Law doesn't apply to elected members of the legislature, raise your hand. I don't see any hands. No, regardless of the position, I mean, Representative Page believes it applies to me, and I believe it applies to me. And I have responded lawfully within the 72-hour legal requirement to every request made, and I've lost count of how many he's made of me. But somebody makes one of him, and he hides behind this bogus ludicrous a position taken by the clerk of the House, apparently on orders. I don't know who gave that order, but Representative Page could commit to you folks here today that I, Representative Page, will release the letter. That is not an order from the clerk of the House. It's the position of the clerk of the House. Now, if he wrote a letter on his official letterhead in the course of official business, let him make an argument before this group that he should not release it when a sunshine law request comes to him. I'm very interested to hear that argument. Again, Representative Page wants to use the sunshine law as a sword against any and all who might have the temerity to stand up to him. But when it's applied to him, we're going to reach for this bogus exception, which is against the weight of legal opinion. The weight of legal opinion is sunshine law applies to all governmental bodies. The term public governmental body is broadly defined. This essentially includes all state and local entities, including the Missouri legislature. I'd like to ask Jean Maneke, our counsel, what she thinks on this issue, whether it applies to elected members of the House and Senate. I say yes.
Sam Page, your turn.
First of all, I want to point out that it's hypocritical and dishonest for the Lieutenant Governor and sometimes Acting Governor to claim the mantle on the Sunshine Law. When as Acting Governor, he had the opportunity to release emails held by the Governor against state law that's currently the subject of litigation in Missouri. Now, if the Governor can call, if the Lieutenant Governor, as Acting Governor, can call out the National Guard, he can release the Governor's emails. Save us all thousands of dollars of litigation because we're all very interested to see what's in those emails. I have released everything that I have related to letters in my possession. The letter that's being requested, or has been requested years ago, was identical to a letter that I released. The only thing different was dear recipient. Only thing different. Now, we can dwell on whether or not a copy with a different recipient name should be released, but we can talk about whether or not the Governor's email should be released, the subject of litigation with the Press Association and members of the press in this state. Now, the records in the House of individual members, unfortunately, House members don't have a records retention policy, a mechanism to save their emails, a mechanism to save letters. We say what we think is important. We say constituent communications. We say representative items. When our computers are changed out of our office, we lose our emails. They're gone. There is no records retention policy. We only have the ability to produce what we have in our possession. Thank you.
Eddie Black.
On the sunshine laws, I do agree that House members and Senate members, it does apply to them. Regarding emails, if it is a government account email, I agree those should be released. If it is emails from their personal email accounts, those do not have to be released because it's no different than somebody calling on a phone. I mean, we've got to go with the way technology has been updated. So personal emails, no. If it's a government account emails, yes, they should be affected by the sunshine laws.
We can allow time for a 30-second rebuttal here. We'll start with you.
The request while I was acting governor, which I've been over 100 days in the last 3.5+ years, was a stunt. Everyone knows that when the lieutenant governor is acting governor, his duties are derivative of the governor's, and you agree on what you're going to do. For instance, I made appointments while acting governor, subject to prior agreement with the governor before he left the state. I repeat, this was a stunt by Representative Page. There was no serious expectation to get those released, and I think we just heard, because it's a matter of litigation, it's in litigation, it's in the courts, it's not for me to decide. But I think we just heard an admission from Representative Page that he did write the letter that has never been released. So I call on you again to release the letter, unredacted, the letter that you wrote to the Missouri Ethics Commission.
Sam Page.
Well, thank you for the opportunity for the rebuttal. I will say again, if the Lieutenant Governor is governor, they have the power of governor. If you can call out the National Guard, you can release the emails. And I'm just amazed that governor's emails, which are much more interesting than a copy of a letter that has a different deer on the front of it, that by law I was never required to keep. I kept, in fact, the correspondence that was exchanged with my office identifies members in position of authority in the House who have said that I have exceeded the requirements under state law with records retention in my office.
Okay, you've left your opportunity for rebuttal there.